Hello my dear students. In today's class, I am supposed to teach you an interesting story. The Selfish Giant. The Selfish Giant. It's an imaginary short story written by the famous Irish writer Oscar Wilde. And in the introduction of the story, you can see that the hero of the story, a giant, is living alone in his castle, in his fort. And in his castle there is a beautiful garden. You see, this giant in the beginning is a very selfish, and he dislikes children. But after a bitter experience in his life, the giant is transformed. We can see how the giant is transformed in the story. Let's start now. After school hours, some children used to come and play in the giant's garden. And this garden is described in a beautiful way. You see, the garden is covered with full of soft green grass. And in the soft green grass, here and there we can see beautiful flowers coming out and dancing like stars. And the main feature of this garden is that there were about 12 peach trees which bore fruits in autumn season, and in spring these peach trees broke into blossom full of flowers. That much beautiful garden was this. But one day, the giant was coming back after 7 years, visiting his friend in Cornwall, a Cornish ogre. He visited his friend Cornish ogre in Cornwall and came back to his own castle. He is coming after 7 years to this place. When he reached in his castle, he saw that children were playing in his garden, and the giant became very angry and he shouted. When the children heard the sound of this giant, they were frightened and ran away from the garden. And the giant announced that my garden is my own. Nobody is allowed to get inside. And he constructed a huge wall, a high wall around his garden, and also put a signboard. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Trespassers will be prosecuted. That means if anybody come inside without permission, will be faced with legal proceedings. That means will be punished. You see the condition of our children? They were very disappointed. They could not get inside because of this huge wall. And they started to play on the road, and they were not satisfied because the road was full of dust and hard stones. They could not enjoy their game on the road. Then they started to walk around this wall, thinking and talking about those beautiful days in the garden. And after that, it is time for the spring season. All over the country, they started the signs of spring season. And there were, we can see, flowers came out from the grass. But you see, only in the giant's garden, it is still winter season. It is still winter. And all other places are rich with the beautiful arrival of the spring. The giant really wondered why the spring is very late. The spring didn't come to my garden yet. And he even thought that if there is any change in the seasons, so the giant was fully disappointed because the spring not yet arrived here. In his garden he can see only frost, snow, north wind and hailstones. All these natural elements started to disturb giant. The hailstones started to break all the roofs light, and north wind made noises and disturbed this giant. And the garden was fully covered with white snow and frost. What we can see, the giant is fully disappointed. And he sat inside his castle without going outside. Even the other seasons, summer and autumn, did not come to this place. They said that this giant is a selfish one, so they do not like to come in. Thus, now we can see the giant is alone, lying on his bed. And suddenly he heard a beautiful music from outside. He even thought that the music is from a musical band is passing through the road. But then he understood that it is not by the musicians played this music, but it is by a beautiful linnet bird. The bird is singing outside his garden, outside his castle, inside the garden. And the giant was fully excited. He came out and looked out. He saw that many children were playing in the garden. And he wondered how these children get in. Then he understood that there is a narrow gap in the wall and the children crept inside through that narrow gap of the wall. And at the same time the giant realized the truth, why the spring did not arrive into his garden. He realized that it is because the children were not in the garden. That is why the spring did not come yet. You see, all the frost, snow, north wind, hailstones, everything disappeared when the children get into the garden. And all trees were fully covered with flowers. And every branches we can see children are playing. At this time, the giant noticed in a corner of the garden there is a little boy trying to catch a tree branch, but he couldn't reach into the branch. Now the transformed giant thought about helping the little child. And he slowly came out of his castle and moved into the garden. But what happened was that when the other children saw the appearance of this giant, they ran outside because they are afraid of this giant. And when the children went outside, the spring is disappeared and the winter came again. You see the change? But still in a corner we can see a little child is trying to catch the branch. He is crying and didn't see the appearance of this giant. And slowly the giant moved into that little boy and took that boy in his arms and put him on the tree branch. And the tree was changed into spring and covered with full of flowers. The boy was so happy and he came back into the giant and kissed on his cheek and celebrated those beautiful moments. By seeing all these things, the children who went outside started to come in, and they also joined with the giant and the little boy. And you see the change, the season is completely changed into spring again. The winter is not there. The frost, snow, north wind, hailstones, everything disappeared. Now this garden is full of spring, full of blossoms. And with these children, the giant, the selfish giant in the beginning transformed into a great giant at the end. He announced that my garden is forever a children's park. From this time, my garden is going to be a children's park forever. And the children were so happy, they enjoyed with the giant in the garden. And at the end we can see some people were walking through the road. They saw a beautiful sight in the garden. What was the sight? A giant playing with children in the beautiful garden they have ever seen. That's all about the story. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful short story of Oscar Wilde. Thank you for listening.